The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out. Hey everyone, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So today's podcast, and actually the next 12, I'm going to be going over each of the topics that I cover in my coaching course. My idea with this is that I can help the most people possible, and you can get a sampling of exactly what I teach in my course. So I hope that you enjoy these next 12 podcasts because they're really for you. My idea with creating these tools was that, there's only one of me, and these are the tools that I use with myself and with my clients. So if I can record it, if I can get it on video, if I can find a way to share it with people, then they can use these tools to find greater peace in their lives, solve deep mysteries within themselves, and connect to themselves and their community. So I hope that you enjoy, and let me know if you have any feedback. You can email me, Erin at erincoach.com, and enjoy. Hey everyone, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So I am back after a few weeks. I had pre-recorded my podcast following the coaching course that I run in August, which the next one is in August. And it's the 20th to the 28th. If you've been listening to these podcasts and you're like, hey, this woman, I like the cut of her jib. I think that she really knows what she's talking about, and I like her spirit, and I like how authentic she is. I'm just saying these things because these are a lot of things that I hear from people when they talk about me, to me. So if you're interested in doing the life coaching course with me, we already have spots that are filling up. Again, it's August 20th to the 28th. You'll become a fully certified life coach through the Thrive Coach School, and you'll work directly with me for 8 intensive days. And if you're interested in that, we do have an early bird pricing, and you can check that out at thrivewitherin.com. So I am continuing on with the course materials that I cover, just to give you a little taste, just a little sample. It's like when you can't make up your mind at a restaurant and they have like the sample platter and you're like, ooh, I'll have that. I do want an egg roll, and I do want like a conch fritter, and I do want a goat cheese encrusted cheese swirl or whatever. So I'm giving you a sampling. But before I hop into that, I just kind of want to recap you a little bit on the past few weeks. So I went to a silent retreat. It was awesome. And it was at the Art of Living Retreat Center. And I usually do my silent retreats Vipassana style. And so I went out to this retreat center and I was like, all right, different experience. And honestly, so it's like a 5-day retreat versus like 10 days, which, losing my mom this year and dealing with all the stress, 10 days honestly would have been, could I have done it? Yeah, I know I can do anything. But would it have been fair to my grieving process? Maybe not. So this came up, I decided to go, and, the first day I was there, we weren't silent. And I was like, what's going on? I thought this was a silent retreat. It was called Stepping into Silence. So I guess that, they kind of break you in. And so, people are walking around with their phones and like their tattoos hanging out, which I was like, okay, well, like I just got some new ink. Like I'm going to show that off. It was different. And honestly, the first day I was I was like, honestly, a little judgy. I was like, these people aren't silent. They don't even know what that means to be quiet. Look at them with their phones. Maybe they're not speaking, but they're reading. And all my judgment came in of like this great arrogance of having been to 3 Vipassana silent retreats. Like I know everything. Like it's funny the way the brain works, right? It can become pompous, or it can become, make you feel less than in an instant. So, and I wasn't completely sold on the retreat. Like, I thought the lady was nice. Her name was Purnima. I thought the retreat center was beautiful. Like, it had a good energy, but I was kind of like, I don't know. And I think, it's just biased from the power of Vipassana. So anyways, we got to the part where we took Sudarshan Kriya, which I had been very excited to learn. And I'll tell you, it was really powerful. And they also, they teach yogic techniques, which when I go to Vipassana retreats, I kind of have to hide that I'm a yogi. They don't, you follow their technique, and I try to honor it as best I can. But it was really nice. When she was the second day, she's like, okay, now some of you may know this, some of you may not. This is called Ujjayi. And I was like, what? What? Do I know that or what? I fucking teach that, lady. And I was just so happy, like beaming in the back, like just like, oh, yay, Ujjayi. That's like an old friend to me. So I was like, revved up my Ujjayi. I'm breathing. We did Sudarshan Kriya, and I had a wonderful awakening in my body of just like pulsating energy that just tingled outward. And I felt like freedoms. I felt awesome. And what I really like about their method is, here I am, 2 weeks since I've been there? At least 2 weeks. And I have not missed a practice. Every single day I do my Sudarshan Kriya. They do Bhastrika breath, and they do 3 levels of Ujjayi. And I've done it every single freaking day. There were 2 days where it was a little bit shorter than I would have liked, but I was entertaining my family. So I forgive myself for that, but it was really cool. So anyways, I'm going to talk about just one more thing before I get into the coursework, because I feel like this is also like me connecting with you and me kind of like giving you an update on my life. And hopefully you're interested in that, as well as the tools that I provide. So anyways, it's Art of Living Retreat Center in North Carolina, and you'll be looking forward to a podcast where I am going to interview the beautiful Purnima, who led the course while I was there, which was pretty cool for her to grant me an interview. So that was awesome. Another thing that happened that I want to talk about, maybe I'll make this into a separate podcast, is I got a giant tattoo on my left shoulder. It's something I've been like ruminating over for almost 2 years, and I finally decided what I wanted, and I have an amazing tattoo artist. And so, yeah, I decided, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get color. It's my first color tattoo. I'm going to get the first 3 Yoga Sutras on my arm, which, some people might think is taboo, but it's above the waist. It is, so sacred to me, and I know what it means. I know how to pronounce it. Like, I am not just like appropriating a culture here. Like, I live it. I love it. I study the Yoga Sutras day in and day out. So it felt right. I got it done. And, I like sat just a straight 6-hour shot, which like yogic meditation techniques really come in handy when you're doing long tattoo sessions. But something interesting happened. Like that night, I had a metallic-y taste in my mouth. And I was like, I didn't really connect the dots there, but I was like, that's interesting. And later on that night, my left eye started twitching. Like, that twitch you get in your eye when you've had too much caffeine or like you're super stressed. And so, it's been a big year for me. So I just chalked it up to, I'm stressed, or maybe cut back on the caffeine. So I did both things, eliminated caffeine for a few days. And I don't really have big amounts of it anyway, and then, just trying to like take a step back, make sure I'm like, my meditation is on point, like doing, like getting acupuncture. So I actually gave myself acupuncture for a few days. And for those of you just tuning in that are like, what? I don't do it on anybody else except for like, I do ear points on like my boyfriend. But I trained underneath an acupuncturist for about 4 years. So that's how I know what I know, and I do it on myself. Anyways, it wasn't going away. And I started feeling almost like panic attacks, which of all the things I've been through in my life, I've never really, except for the one time when I was 18 and I mistakenly ate a pot cookie, I've never really had panic attacks. I did not have experience with that. And I have to say, they are fucking awful. They're awful. And mine were like mild, like I wasn't, like when I had the panic attack when I ate the pot cookie or whatever, I was like throwing up everywhere. It was awful. I just like I put my head in the freezer. That was terrible. Not quite that level, but like literally to where I feel like I was going a little bit crazy and then a lot of bit crazy. To where I couldn't handle anything for about a week and a half. While I was at the retreat, I noticed it was, because I got the tattoo before I went to my silent retreat, I noticed it was harder to drop in, but I was able to do it. And I think that served me really well. But when I came back, I was like on, and I just had this clenching all over my body. So the taste of metal in my mouth, the eye twitching, the guts, just like my food was not digesting. I can say with confidence that I had or have, I'm still detoxing it out, heavy metal poisoning. And yeah, it sucks. And I just want to say that I don't regret getting my tattoo. I think it's freaking rad, but I am all about informed choices. And I'm talking about this because, yeah, I love tattoos. I think they're great, but there is an assumed risk when you get inked. And there is a high possibility that there's going to be some heavy metals in the ink. So I am all about, again, informed choices. We're grown-ass people. I'm a grown-ass woman. I made my decision. And as much as I know about health and well-being and like natural healing and holistic solutions, and I know I've read about like tattoo, heavy metals, etc. And one of my past teachers would talk about, if you have tattoos, you have heavy metal poisoning. And I was kind of like, okay, but like not really, right? Until I experienced it. So I used one of Tim Goyesh's formulas. He has an all heavy metals detox, did that. And then my adrenals were very stimulated. So I pulled out from my repertoire this formula called Drenamine, and it's by Standard Process. And if your adrenals are all over the place, like mine were, I couldn't even think straight. I couldn't work. Like anything would set me off, and I was getting angry. Oof. Thank God for skating. I did a lot of park skating, by the way. That has balanced me to where I'm still detoxing out these heavy metals, and I'm still on Tim's formula, but like it really chilled me out. So those two things in conjunction and trying to eat a healthy diet is certainly helping to bring me back in balance. So anyways, that was a little bit longer than I intended, but I just wanted to catch you up, and you might see some separate podcasts about these topics. So anyways, continuing on. Today, I want to talk about the dropper technique. So I've talked about the dropper technique a little bit informally, but I want to make an official podcast that's going to be labeled as such so that you can review this material quite easily and you can coach yourself. So the dropper technique I originally developed for clients that I had that really had trouble accessing uncomfortable feelings within them. Like if I were to say, okay, Jamie, I would like you to now go into shame. Does it feel safe to go into shame? And they would like breathe, and I could just see their whole body clench. And like the thought of, releasing any clenching around their shame and allowing it to flow through them was so terrifying that they would just like session done. Like you shall not pass, do not pass go, do not collect $200 or whatever. Like none of that was happening. And so, in meditation, this technique came to me. And so the original dropper formula, and there's different versions of it, and I'll discuss too. The original formula was to think of first a feeling that you absolutely love. Your favorite feeling, joy, ecstasy, thrill, happy, it could be simple, could be contentment. And that's like your favorite feeling in the world. And what you do with the dropper technique is first bring that feeling up to a pinnacle inside of your body. Like bring it to a heightened state. And then what you would do is imagine you have a little tincture bottle of your least favorite feeling. So in this case, my hypothetical client would be Jamie. And let's say it's shame. And so what we would do is in that state of heightened, let's say her favorite feeling is like ecstasis, like ecstasy. You would take one drop of shame and just imagine dropping it into the chest or the center of the belly. And with one drop, what it does is it gets your mind into a space where the emotion is not overwhelming anymore, right? It's like if I were like, okay, learn how to swim, and just like, it's like from a helicopter, and I just like dropped you in the ocean like they do in those Survivor TV shows. I'm like, all right, learn how to swim and see you on the other side. Right? So that as a coach, that's not very nice to do. But some people can be dropped in the ocean like that, and they're just like, all right, ride the waves. Others, it takes a little bit more, like you have to learn how to doggy paddle, you have to go into like the kiddie pool a little bit, and then you work your way up. And that's totally fine, right? There's no like shame in your game, because everybody has certain feelings that they resist. And if you're anything like me, the reason why I know so much is because I was so disconnected from my body, so disconnected from how to tap into my emotions and process them. And so that's how I have all these techniques, because I was a hard case. So using the dropper technique is like giving your client or yourself like little floaties, a little tube, put you in the kiddie pool. And then you can start to graduate your way up. And it's like, learn to crawl, learn to take small steps. Otherwise, you really end up nowhere. And then these feelings are just bombarding you, and you're so overwhelmed by them and so intimidated that you never get anywhere, right? So bit by bit, like small bite-sized pieces. Okay, so the process would be, again, to bring up your favorite feeling, and then bring it up to a pinnacle, and then take that drop and one drop, and then just breathe and try to like notice if your body clenches, and keep bringing up that feeling of like ecstasy, of joy, of love. And what happens is that you're able to soften around that drop until it starts to dissolve, break apart. And then you're back to like your good feeling again, right? Or your pleasant feeling. And then you do 2 drops, 1, 2. Like one on, I usually do the right and the left side of the body, 1, 2. And you observe it, and it makes you really hone in. It's like you're listening to your body very clearly with such gentle and sincere intention. It's like turning down the volume of everything else in your life. And you're like, no, I'm going to focus on you now, which is what we all want. We want our own attention. We want to listen. Like the body's certainly communicating all the time through vibration and frequency, but a lot of times our mind's like da 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 da, like just, caught up in whatever story it is, and we don't notice these subtle vibrations until it's like whoosh, like it's a huge vibration. Then we're like, okay, you got my attention. So by slowing down and doing this, you are like calling in the forces of your body to work together. If you're, this is probably going to age me, but like I remember the show Captain Planet, where they're like wind, water, fire. I forget, there was one more, but I know there was heart, right? I think earth was one. So you combine all the forces in your body and you draw your awareness down to this area that is clenching, that is stuck, that you feel like is impenetrable, and you dissolve it. So you continue that process of the drop, drop, drop. Sometimes I go to 5, 6, 7, and then by then, usually people get more confident, and then I tell them to invite in like half and half. Like, oh, like half and half, like the creamer. And just like sit with it. And kind of like a little yin yang, right? So there's the light, the pleasant feeling, and then there's like the not pleasant, and have them swirl around each other, kind of like that yin yang, right? Or yin yang. And there's a dot of each in each other, right? And they start to help each other process, okay? So that is one way that I use the dropper technique to get beyond uncomfortable feelings. But here is the bonus material as far as how I use the dropper technique with clients now. So if you are already in a state where you're clenched up and you're uncomfortable, like anger or sadness or grief or, like deep shame or guilt, like you're already in that state, like long gone, like you're in it. Like if you can have this in your back pocket to pull out, because you want to feel good, right? You want to feel better. When you're in one of those states and you really run away with it, it's hard. And it feels like there's a brick in your stomach or in your chest. And so to get out of that state, I was like, okay, well, just stop feeling that way and feel better. You'd be like, well, fuck you. Thanks a lot, life coach. Like, but what we can do is incrementally invite in a drop of your favorite feeling, right? So we flip it and reverse it like Missy Elliott, right? And then we take a drop of your favorite tincture, right? So let's just say it's joy. Joy is one of my favorites I go for. So I'm already in this state of like, I don't know, let's say anger. I'm a redhead, I'm fiery. So let's say it was anger. I'm going to take one drop of joy and I'm going to just drop it right around my belly. Just bloop, one drop. And then I breathe and I imagine the feeling of joy spreading through. And it's very important in this process to breathe. Like I imagine that the breath kind of catches hold of the spreading emotion and just like assists in like kind of spreading it through the body. Almost if you dropped like some paint on a canvas and you got real close to it and you used your breath and you went like you blew it, it would spread and move and cross the canvas and become thinner. So your breath, as you, again, use Ujjayi breath. And if you're unsure of how to use Ujjayi breath, I just did the course on pranayama. So you can review that. And it's very easy to find. You just type in pranayama or go to my last episode. You spread it through your body and then it becomes less intimidating. And then boop, boop, 2 drops. 1, 2. I like to go left, right. You can go top, bottom. And breathe. And just allow your body to invite in that nourishment, right? As if you were cold and then you got like a little bit of warmth. You would go from like the fetal position, like, oh gosh, shivering, I'm so cold, to like, okay, I'm starting to sit up straighter and like, it's not so bad. 1, 2, 3. I usually do right, left, and then right in the center, a little lower, almost like a triangle. And so you spread it through your body. And then when you've spread it, then you can invite in 4, you can continue to 5. So that is the dropper technique. Those are the 2 cases where I would use it. I can tell you that as far as coaching tools, like this is one of my babies that I like created. There's no other person that does the dropper technique that I know of. I didn't learn it from anyone. This is something that I created through my meditations and just wanting to serve. When you're in service to other people and you're on the path, like you will get information, because we're all walking around like these wisdom chambers, but a lot of times we don't have access to it. It's like you're fumbling with the keys. You're like, damn it, which one is it? I need to unlock this. When you meditate, it takes the mind out of the equation when you really get deep into it. And I have trained myself to be able to access those points. Not all the time. If it were up to me, it would be every time. But, probably like 1 out of 3 or 4. I really have a good deep meditation where I access all this wonderful information. And most of the time it's like, information to serve. And so I share it with you. And so this technique is that. So I hope that you enjoy this podcast. I'm going to get going because I hear the lawn people coming. And I'm so happy I got this done for you. I hope that you have a fantastic week. And again, if you are interested in my coaching course or to coach with me personally, I don't have a lot of spots open for personal coaching, but I certainly have one or two. You can email me, Erin at erincoach.com. You can fill out my new client coaching intake form. Again, all that's available on thrivewitherin.com as well as thriveyogafit.com. I hope you have a great week, and namaste. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin at erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning, and not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.